Okay. Okay. So that's what happens. That's what happens, guys. All right. Good morning, you all. Good morning. Yes. It's today. I'm finally doing my video. Okay, so I've been saying for the last couple days that I'm going to be doing a video in regards to the events that took place at the mall, Woodland Hills Mall on 71st and Memorial, Tulsa, Oklahoma on June 1st, 2020. Alright, so before I start going into the story, I just want to give you all a little bit of context. I want to give you context on who I am as a person. My name is Gavin McClellan. I am an independent with conservative background. And my family is primarily Republican, so naturally, that is my baggage. Now, just because I am Republican, conservative, whatever you want to call me, does not mean that I hold you any lesser of me. That doesn't mean that my political views are any more than yours. It doesn't mean any of that. Overall, all I care about is the well-being of my people, my fellow people. We're all in the same country, man. I can't sit there and choose a side when we're all in the same boat. Sorry. So that's the first piece of context I want to give you. The second piece of context is why I attended that event. I did not attend the event as a protester. I attended the event as a spectator. Given the fact that with social media in any level, Facebook, actual news, anything, just anything that I've been trying to see, it is really hard to determine who is actually in the right. And that's what I was there for. I wanted to see exactly how this would have played out, and I wanted to see exactly which side was in the right. I wanted to see who brought what, in lack of better words. And you'll hear me say lack of better words a lot, because trust me, it was one of the most insightful experiences I think I could have had, and it definitely opened my eyes 100%. I hope you don't take any of what I'm saying, but I'm not asking you to believe me. I'm not asking you to sit there and take my word for anything. I'm hoping you will. I don't have a side that I'm on this. I just want to tell you guys exactly what exactly happened from a person that was strictly a spectator. Now let's dive into the story. I showed up to the area roughly around 3:30. I was one of the first, if not the first person to show up. I have multiple people that can confirm that. I showed up around 3:30 on the east side of the road, or actually, I'm sorry, on the south side, or on the west side of Memorial, on the north side of 71st, right there by the old Toys R Us, which is now Ollie's. Shanley dropped me off at roughly at 4 o'clock, somewhere in there, 5 o'clock, and I went on a run. I decided to go take a couple laps around the mall just to see exactly what was going on. Word was, someone had evidently made an anonymous phone call saying that the mall was going to be burned down. There was going to be an organized group of people to attempt to destroy this building. So I wanted to see exactly what happened. I ran the mall my first lap. Everything seemed pretty normal, casual, as casual as it can be for everything that is going on. Given the facts that was the tip that they had gotten and that was the word around town, they were taking safety precautions. They were taking extra measures. So they started grabbing dumpsters, the big blue dumpsters you see. They grabbed the big blue dumpsters and blocked every exit and entrance off, except for one. They filled each dumpster with trash and then filled it with water. This is woo! Woo! Oh! Oh, fuck. I'm dying. Okay, so anyways. The police and the fire department were taking part of this, obviously. Okay. I made my second lap around the mall. The dumpsters are in fact full. This is around 6. 5, well, actually, I take that back. This is around 5. I made my third lap around the mall. In my third lap, which my starting point again was at Ollie's, going all the way around just to spectate exactly what was going on. I had counted at least 40 police cruiser cars in that mall parking lot. I counted at least 15 dumpsters blocking each entrance and exit. And then, as I made that third pass around the mall, I noticed there on the south side, or on the north side of the mall, over by the Walmart, there was more people gathering. And at this point, you know, you would casually see maybe a handful of people, maybe a group of 5 walking, and it wasn't anything much. It really wasn't. I maybe can count 10 people that I actually passed on the sidewalk from me running around the mall. And that's running around it 3 fucking times. I only saw that many people. So fast forward, I get to the other side of the mall. And I see already that there are news crew people kind of hiding out in little shopping strips over there by that Walmart, in those little shopping strips by Taco Bueno. I see small little gatherings. And then I get to the other side where I started again. At this point, there is really nobody there. A couple more cars had shown up, parked in the parking lot in the same strip as Ollie's. And just kind of looking at the guy with the gun over there, you know, over by Olive Garden. Nothing much. Then fast forward maybe an extra 30 minutes. So we're about 5:30, 6 o'clock. And the guy with the gun over there by Olive Garden had a couple other people that joined in with him. Then not people with guns. And also, just to give you all some background with this guy with the gun, I keep on referring to him, I know that. The guy with the gun that you might be seeing on Facebook was no one of a potential threat. Even if you want to look at it that way, that man was actually exercising his he was exercising his rights. With the mask, though, is debatable. I'm almost willing to say that it was an iffy thing for him to wear his gas mask, but either way, taken away from the whole point. The man was there to prevent people from looting and rioting because he had heard the same exact thing that I did. He was encouraging people to keep their head. He was encouraging people to keep the peace. He was trying to encourage people to respect their community, to understand that this is hard times. He just wanted people to not forget. We need to be grounded. All right. So, like I said, about 5:30, 6 o'clock, more people showed up with the person with the gun. And again, the group isn't big. You're talking maybe about 10 people at this point. 10 people on the east side of that road in front of Olive Garden. Okay. Fast forward to about 7. Crowd is really big. Not really big, but for someone who showed up and there was no one, it was pretty big, considering that was my starting point. The parking lot maybe had, I would roughly say, 30 cars in it. 30. And that's, give or take 10. So give or take 10. So, well, actually, I would say maybe give 10. Maybe. I might be skewing that number just a hair bit, but I promise it was not that many people. And if it really was a question that people wanted me to go and figure out, I could go back to the spot. I could cross-reference how many cars were actually there and count how many parking spots there were. By my guess, it was no more than 50. No more than 50 cars. Okay. And at this point, there are people sitting on the back of their cars in their trunks, kind of just watching the people across the road with their signs. And to clarify, the people that were across the road on the east side by Olive Garden that were with signs, that were actually protesting, they were actually trying to promote a certain movement, were not obstructing anything. I want to make that especially clear. They were not obstructing anything. They weren't running in the road. They weren't walking up and down the sidewalk. They weren't hardly ever in the grass. They would occasionally step in the grass. But you know what? We're all human. You ever step in some grass? I think I have a couple times. It happens. But for the amount of time that they stayed there. They were on the sidewalk the entire time. I can say that 100%. They never once walked on the road obstructing anybody. They never once incited anything or instigated anything on that side of the road. Just give that some clarity. Okay. Keep moving. I am at this point, after I got done running that third lap and I was finally finished and I was like, man, this crowd's finally picked up. Oh, wow. I'm standing on the entrance in between the XXXL men's store and the Ollie's. I was on the south side of the entrance, standing in the grass patch. Okay. I was standing right next to the News on 6 people. Whenever the police showed up, I want to make this part especially clear as well. The police had originally gotten a call for a complaint that a lady was hurting somebody. At least that's what I'm assuming. Because there was a lady out in the back of the parking lot in front of AutoZone who was not a part of the protest, who was actually a shopper from Ollie's. There was a woman with her child crying very hard, very, very hard, almost to the point where it was screaming. I don't know what was going on. No one else knows what was going on. No one else got involved. No one did anything. Okay. The lady and her child were left to be by themselves. One cop cruiser shows up. The first police officer stands with the lady for maybe 10 minutes. Another cop cruiser shows up. 2 more officers show up to talk to this lady. Shortly after that, you're seeing about 6 more cop cruisers pulling at the same exact entrance that I'm standing at. At this point, the lady had disappeared. I had not seen the lady go. Somehow, some way, the lady just poof. And I don't know how, because I was watching it like a hawk, but this lady just magically poof. I didn't see where she went. I did not see this child. I don't know where this person went. Call this coincidence, but this is, again, what I saw. The second those other cop cruisers showed up, after that second, all I saw was police get out of their cruisers in full riot gear. Okay. At this point, there's maybe 15 police officers to 20 police officers standing in the back of the parking lot in front of AutoZone. Because you have to think, the amount of people that were at this event, that were parked in the parking lot next to Ollie's and in the parking lot in front of Ollie's, they were only taking up maybe 2 rows of parking. All the all the spots were filled up, but it was only 2 rows. And then on the other side next to Ollie's in front of AutoZone, you're maybe looking at 4 completely filled parking spots, 3 completely filled rows, and then maybe a few little patches over there by Burlington Coat Factory. But aside from that, the parking lot was not even considered a quarter full. Again, you have to take into consideration, at the point before those 2 officers showed up, the crowd was maybe at best 50 people. I will admit, the crowd did jump up to a number that maybe exceeded 100, but no more than 2. So just, again, clarifying that. As soon as those police officers got out of their cruisers, the attention was directed to the people in the parking lot, telling them this was an unlawful gathering, verbatim, and said that we were on private property, we were not allowed to be there, and then proceeded to repeat, rinse, rinse, wash, repeat. And that went on for maybe 3 minutes. 3 or so minutes. And then a couple of people tried to go up and talk to the police officers from what it looked like to my eyes. From where I was to where this confrontation happened, you're maybe talking about 15 yards at best. Okay. It's not that far of a space from that entrance to that front door of AutoZone, okay? The police had said that they had gotten a call that someone had broken the AutoZone window. I can 100% say with full certainty, no one in this crowd broke the AutoZone window. I know this for a fact because I was keeping my eyes open like a hawk. No one even stepped near that AutoZone. They didn't have any intention of stepping near that AutoZone. Just like they had no intention of stepping foot near that mall. Everyone was on the same page. The people that were at this rally, it is safe to say that only about roughly 30% of these people were in fact protesting, and the other 70% or so were there strictly to see how this plays out. Not saying that they were going to loot. I'm not saying they were going to start instigating or rioting. I'm saying they were there. Okay? They were not holding signs. They weren't chanting. They weren't doing any of this stuff. No. They were watching. The noise level was from, in my opinion, and this is coming from a musician, the sound level, the music level, the level of the volume level of the chanting and the yelling was mediocre at best. Almost elementary school. And it just wasn't that loud. It wasn't that many people. I guess if you want to be fair, it was loud enough for how many people were there, but that isn't what the police were saying we were being kicked out for. They were saying that we were being kicked out because we weren't welcome, not because of noise, because we weren't welcome. Your First Amendment says that you have the right to protest. Marbury versus Madison, 1803. Any future laws that are to be, Supreme Court basically ruled that any future laws that are in contradiction to the Constitution of the United States can be, and more than likely will be, considered null and void, can be dismissed. So, when you look at it like that, this was a gathering of people supporting a movement that people need. In this time, whether you agree with it, whether you don't, it's safe to say people are people. They have the right to exercise what they feel like they need to speak on. It's a right. As long as their speech is not hindering someone else's rights, as long as it's not fucking with other people, you're fine. Before the police even gave us a real warning, immediately saw them start shooting rubber bullets at a couple of the people that were attending. Again, I'm going to be fair on this. Did I think that this police officer who started the first rubber bullet shooting, do I think that he was right to do it? No. Do I think that people should understand that he is in a position and in a time especially where things are extremely confusing? Yes. I think we can all say that. I think that's a safe thing to say. Now, do I agree he shot him? No. Do I understand why? Yes. Just like I would hope that the protesters would understand as well. But however, what the police officer needs to understand is the perspective of the people. You're showing up to a peaceful gathering of people not doing anything in full riot gear. And then you proceeded to shoot somebody with a rubber bullet. People did back off. As soon as that first shot was made, people backed off. They didn't run. They didn't scream. They didn't do any of this. Obviously, there was people that were screaming because they were freaked out. You have to think, this is a gathering with people ages varying from teenagers all the way up to people well in their 50s plus. That's a huge gap. And some of these people, this was potentially their first ever rally. So obviously there was people screaming. We all proceeded to get onto the sidewalk. There were a couple people that established themselves as a firm voice and a leader for these people after that incident. I recall being on the sidewalk, watching people stand on their own vehicles to reason with these people, telling them, stay on the sidewalk. They cannot and will not hurt you if you are on the sidewalk. Don't give them a reason to shoot you. Don't give them a reason to obstruct you. Don't give them a reason to arrest you. Stay on the sidewalk. I saw about 3 or 4 people doing that. I also got to witness a couple people that disagreed amongst their own, people of their own color, trying to come to a fucking consensus. And nothing wrong with that. I heard people saying, fuck the police, fuck them, what are they going to do? Let's go attack them. I heard other people pleading with this person. Don't be another one of those people. Let Tulsa set the example for the rest of the country. Let's show them how this is actually supposed to be done. Don't show them that we're like these other people. Don't show them that we're going to cave into that. This went on for maybe 10 minutes. Everyone is again on the sidewalk, with the exception of the people who are in their vehicles in the parking lot. Again, in their vehicles on the parking lot. Okay. Without even giving a countdown, without even giving a second warning, we were in fact told this is an unlawful gathering, and with no hesitation, they proceeded to throw tear gas at us. They threw tear gas at people who were on the sidewalk who didn't even know that anything was happening. I witnessed with my own eyes them throwing tear gas onto public sidewalk to people, to women, to children, sitting with their backs turned to the officers. I witnessed the officers tear gas those people first. As soon as I saw that, I told the officers, I screamed at them, you cannot do that. You cannot shoot these people on public property. The cop told me this was an unlawful gathering. I told him, I used to work for a city. I know where city easements are, and I know where these people's rights are. As soon as I said that, the officer proceeded to shoot me with a 40 millimeter rubber bullet filled with pepper. He shot me 5 times for standing in the sidewalk. I pleaded with the officer. I had my hands up. I screamed, "Don't shoot. I've got kids." And he proceeded to shoot me with no hesitation for standing as a spectator next to the news crew informing them that they were infringing on people's rights. They then started to tear gas us some more. They threw the tear gas directly at the news crew. I was standing right next to News on 6. They didn't care about who was there. Little blonde news lady didn't give a fuck about her cameraman. She said, "Fuck this, I'm out." Poor cameraman guy is fucking coughing and trying to get his shit together because the cops literally just tear gassed the fucking news crew. Woo! I am getting heated. I need a cigarette. Man, sorry, it's tough. It's tough. And again, I want to give clarity. I understand where some of these police officers are going. I where they're coming from. I get it. I get it. Okay. I'm just going to keep myself composed as best as I can. I'm just going to stick to the story. What I saw. Okay, so after they started tear gassing everyone and shooting everyone with rubber bullets, we all proceeded to the median. A lot of us were actually trying to run to the median. A lot of the other half of the people were just trying to run to the other side of the road. I ran to the other side of the road and I started screaming at people, "Don't go to the mall. Don't go to the mall. Don't go to the mall." Me and Shanley both had to help people stay away from the mall. Because the second that people started running over onto the other side of the road from being tear gassed and shot with rubber bullets, the police that were posted in the mall parking lot immediately drove to the other side of the mall where we were all running and started shining their spotlights on everyone. As if it was like a dog in a trap. Everyone did, with the exception of a handful of people, did stay away from the mall parking lot. They stayed away from the old Twin Peaks parking lot and everyone's parking lots. Everyone stayed away. At this point, there is no traffic coming through Memorial except for a handful of cars. It's late at night. This is maybe around 8 o'clock, maybe. 8 o'clock, roughly 7:30. And everyone then was just trying to breathe. Everyone was trying to see. The second they started letting loose on all the people on the sidewalk, everyone scattered. And it was one of the most heartbreaking things I could have seen because I could see the desperation in the people that were there. Because I was one of the people that was also in desperation. Because I knew at that point, right then and there, they didn't care who I was as a person. They didn't understand who I was as a person. And they didn't have any intention of knowing who I was. After people were trying to get gathered, after people were dumping milk on themselves, after people were rubbing Vaseline with baking soda or powder or whatever the fuck people use, or I don't know. I went in there completely ill prepared. Had it not been for the people that were there who thought and anticipated this might happen, I don't know what would have happened to me. After breathing in all of that tear gas and all that pepper, I shortly after was vomiting. Yes, I mean, it's natural. It's expected. Your eyes are going to hurt. You're going to probably throw up. Yes, 100%. But the point is that's what they're doing to their own people. There's less lethal ways to do something. Less non-lethal ways, I should say. There are better ways to go about that. I was throwing up. I couldn't see, along with all these other people. A handful of people got lucky, didn't really get too much of it. They proceeded to run to the median. At this point, I understand where people were lost. At that moment, I saw the most of what I could describe as unity and division. I saw both of that happening at the same exact time, and I know a few of you people have heard me say that and have seen me commenting on stuff like that. That is the best way I can describe this event. It was the most of unity with the most of being divided. Without trying to be, I'm not trying to be funny here, but it is literally like a starburst. Solid, yet juicy. And the only difference though on that one is, I guess that's a horrible analogy because I guess people like starbursts. And solid and juicy go together, so that was a horrible analogy. But you see my point. I got to witness everyone on a different page. The second those people in riot gear, the police showed up in riot gear, is when the spirit, and started shooting at us, was when the spirit of the organization was broken. And I'm not saying organization as a movement. I'm saying the organization as people's composure. The composure of people as soon as those people in riot gear showed up and started shooting